So just a brief introduction. I'm Ayush Macha and I'm a BCom graduate, 21 pass out and currently working in field assist in the customer success team. So now I'll start with my journey. So this was my third CAT attempt, right? So first I appeared for CAT back in 2020 when I was in my final year of graduation, right? So since this was my first, you can say first time I was encountering with an aptitude exam. So I was a bit nervous and I hadn't prepared that well. So I was a bit underprepared and as a result, I managed to score a decent 94 percentile in CAT 2020. So once the results were out, I knew that I had the potential of performing better and with some good practice, I should get a good score in the next attempt. So that's when I decided to go for CAT 21. And this time, since I had passed out, so due to COVID, our final exams got delayed. So by the time I graduated, it was already August or mid-September, you can say, September 21. So I had around 2 to 3 months full time to prepare for the CAT 21 exam. So there I just focused entirely on my CAT preparation and I left no stone unturned. So I was totally into my preparation but as they say, God has some plans for you. But in the CAT 21 exam, what happened is on the D-Day, I don't know, something just happened. I managed to lost my concentration. So on the exam, I did decently, I would say, but still got a score of 92 percentile, which was even lesser than my previous year's attempt, right? So this time I was a bit shattered because, I had put in a lot of efforts in the whole year and I was dedicated. I was, very much passionate about this. But when the results came, I was a bit shattered. And the moment results came, everyone around me told me that, yeah, तुम्हारा तो ये second attempt था and I think this is the best what you can do. You should take up whatever colleges you get and you should start with your MBA. But then I knew that what my potential was, right? And I knew that I can perform much better. So that's where I just shut out the outside noise and I backed my instincts. So, something inside me kept telling me that you should go for another attempt and you'll surely do well. So this time what I did was, firstly, I thought of getting into a job, right? Because I knew that when you're preparing full time for the CAT, it kind of gets very monotonous and somewhere down the line you get burnt out too. Okay, I'm not saying सबके साथ ऐसा होता है, but for me, I knew that जब मैं किसी चीज पे fully focus कर लेता हूँ, so somewhere I tend to lose my concentration. And this is exactly what happened in 2021, जहाँ पे for the whole day I just used to study CAT, CAT, and CAT. So I knew that I had to get a job. So once I get into a job, it had a couple of benefits. First would be I would be getting some extra work ex points if applicable. So सबका criteria is different, right? So जहाँ जहाँ पे भी applicable होगा, there I would be getting work ex points. Secondly, it would help me to spend less time on my preparation, but at the same time manage my time efficiently, right? So what used to happen is that mera working hours was around 10 to 6 in the evening. And if you count the travel time, I used to travel 4 hours a day, right? So mera schedule was basically in the morning, I used to get up and before going to office, I used to read for an hour, just a normal newspaper articles, whatever I could read. And I just used to solve one RC, one DILR and a couple of quant questions, right? So that was my morning routine. And during the travel time, I again used to read articles and editorials. So that was my routine. And then again, after coming back from office, I used to practice my, questionnaires, the mocks which I took. I used to give mocks in the weekends. And on the weekdays, I just used to write sectionals if possible, or else I just used to normally practice the questions. So yeah, so coming on to 2021, 2022 CAT journey, I started uh, in around Feb or March, you can say, but my serious prep started from July, right? So when the forms are out, that's where the candidates get serious about their prep. So yeah, my serious prep started in July 22. And overall, I think I gave around 17 to 18 marks, if I'm not wrong. So I think that was the count, the total number of marks. Apart from that, I think I gave around 10 sectionals each for each section, and that sums up to 30 sectionals, right? So now coming on to my section-wise strategy, my VRC was the weakest, you can say, section, and I was pretty decent in DILR, and quant also I was pretty good at. So first of all, I knew that I had to improve my score in my weaker section so that I get a good score or good percentile this year. So my major focus was on VRC this year. So I just used to regularly read a lot of articles, a lot of editorials. Apart from that, it's not just about reading, but the way you read the articles, which helps you in the VRC section. So don't just read on the screen. You should try to comprehend what the author has written about, right? Apart from that, you also try to solve some RCs, like 2 or 3 RCs daily. So this is what I did. Apart from reading, I also solved RCs on a daily basis. So I think this should help because it keeps the momentum going and you are in a habit of solving RCs on a daily basis, right? So this is one thing which I did. And also I would like to add one more point over here. In VRC, if you are, so this is for those people who are weak at VRC. So if you are weak at VRC, don't expect that your scores will improve overnight, because VRC as a section would take some time to reflect all your hard work. So for me, once I started reading regularly in the month of July or August, I got to see the results mostly towards the end of October and early November. So that's where my VRC scores started improving. So it's very easy when you don't see improvement happening in your section which you are working on. You tend to lose the preparation method, right? So for me, it would have been easy to just to say कि I'm reading on a regular basis, but मेरा score improve नहीं हो रहा है. So why should I read it? Instead, I should just go and mark anything या जितना मुझे समझ आता है, try to do that thing. But I think that is not the right way, especially for VRC. You have to be patient because this is a national level exam. और अगर ये इतना easy होता तो everyone would be getting a high score or a high percentage. So yes, you have to be patient with whatever strategies, with whatever preparation plan you follow, and it should be good enough. So that was my plan for VRC. Nextly, so again in VRC, there are 2 subsections. First is the RC and second is the VA part. So RCs is natural to pretty much everyone, but what people tend to not focus on is the VA part, which is the verbal ability. So what I tried this time is, on a daily basis, I tried to solve PS, which are para summaries, para jumbles, and the odd one out. Or what you can also do is you can divide those 3 sections. Like first week may I'll do only para summary, second week I'll do only para jumbles, and third week I'll do only odd one out. So in this way, you'll get a hang of solving a particular type of questions on a regular basis, and you'll get better at that. So you should not ignore the verbal ability part, because it gives you an opportunity to boost your VRC score. So if I give this year's example, I scored around 99.28 in VRC, right? And half of my score I got from VA part. So this year there were 8 VA questions, and you won't believe I got 6 out of 8 VA net correct, right? So you can understand how much important it is to lay emphasis on the verbal ability part, right? So you can simultaneously practice RCs, couple of RCs daily, and a couple of VA questions. Along with that, you can also read on a regular basis. So that was pretty much about VARC. Then coming on to the DILR section. So now DILR section is a major pain point for a lot of the aspirants. Reason being, in last 3-4 years, if you see, this has been pretty much an unpredictable section. You get new types of sets, and यहाँ पे you don't get a typical logical arrangement or a typical DI set. जहाँ पे you say you have A, B, C, D, E, they are in so and so city, they are wearing this shirt. These types of sets have almost, the CAT has stopped giving this kind of basic logical reasoning sets. So nowadays, what the trend is in the CAT exam, you get a mix of both DI as well as LR. So you get a kind of mathematical, logical reasoning data sets. Then you get kind of games and tournaments. Then you get some logical puzzles based sets. So this is where my strategy was in DILR. I tried to solve variety of sets, right? So for DILR, I used to rely on my mocks. Okay. I used to practice sets from my mocks, my sectionals. And on a daily basis, again, for DILR, I used to solve around 1 to 2 sets on a different topics. So starting right from now, what you can do is you can just first focus on your calculations, which are the percentages and the ratios. So first you are done with that, you can start with basic arrangements if you are new to DLR or if you are giving CAT for the first time, because it takes some time to get habituated to the DLR as a section. So first you do start with the basics, which is the basic arrangement sets, then the basic DI, and then you can progress on to the higher level of sets, right? So as I said, I was pretty good at DILR. So I didn't lay too much emphasis on DILR. But yes, in the mocks, my DILR score used to fluctuate. Sometimes I would score as high as 99.5 plus, and sometimes I just, scored even 40 to 50%. So yes, as I said, DILR is an unpredictable section. And the only way to perform better in that section is to regularly practice DILR sets. Apart from practicing, what helped me personally in DILR was that I kept revising all the sets which I had solved previously, right? So it's not just about continuously practicing, but also you have to keep revising and keep revisiting all the sets which you have solved previously. Reason being, so before CAT exam, there's a high possibility that you might have solved around 200 to 250 sets on an average, I'm saying. Agar if you revise all those 250 sets, there's a high possibility that in the CAT exam, you'll get at least 1 or 2 similar kind of sets, right? Because if you see, agar aap mocks bhi buy karte ho, right? So in the mocks, it's very difficult to create a very new kind of set. Somewhere it has to link to some previous year CAT questions, or उसमें variety ज़्यादा नहीं रहता है DILR में, right? So if you practice around 200 to 250 sets and if you revise them properly, then I think it should be good enough and you would be well prepared for the DLR section. So yes, practice and at the same time revision is a must for DLR section. Then coming on to the quants, which is the third section. Quants may again similar to DLR, practice helps a lot. Okay. So first of all, what you should do is for quants, you should maintain your own formula book, right? So for arithmetic, algebra, geometry, modern maths, all the topics which are there, you should maintain and write down your own formulas and keep revising them on a daily basis, right? Because formulas are of utmost importance in the QA section. You generally get around 3 to 4 questions every year, which are directly based on formulas. Okay. So I think you should maintain a formula book first. Secondly, again, as I said, you should practice sums on a daily basis. And for quants, what I did personally was, since I was good at arithmetic, so I majorly focused at arithmetic in the beginning of my prep. I just, took 1.5 months to get to a decent level in arithmetic. Post that, I focused on to my not so strong areas, which are algebra and geometry. So algebra and geometry, if you see geometry mein, everything is about concepts. So if your concepts are clear, you would be able to solve geometry much quicker and much better, right? So you should do that. If I say if you are weak at quants, and if you look at past 3-4 years data, 2017 to 2022, arithmetic has been arithmetic has the highest weightage among all the questions in the CAT. So generally around there are 9 to 10 questions, barring this year. This year was an exception, jahan pe arithmetic did not have that much weightage. But yes, you can rely on arithmetic to clear your cutoff. So firstly, I would suggest you focus on arithmetic if you are just starting your prep and if you're weak at quants. And even in arithmetic, you can start with basic topics, which are percentages, ratio, proportions. Then there is what else? Profit and loss, right? Interest. So these are the topics which are quite easy because you might have done this during your school days. So you can focus on these topics, and then you can move on to algebra. You can move on to time, speed, and distance, and time and work in the arithmetic. So once your arithmetic is done, then you can go to algebra, geometry. You can choose any one of them, basis your liking towards the topic. So after you complete one of them, you can switch to the other topic, and post that you can move on to the modern maths PNCs if you are comfortable, or if you feel that you can do it. Even if you try to skip the rest of the topics apart from arithmetic, algebra, geometry, I think you should be fine, because around 65 to 70% of the CAT questions are from these three topics, which are arithmetic, algebra, and geometry, right? So what I did personally this year was I focused on arithmetic, algebra, and geometry, and I just did a little bit of modern maths and PNC. I just did the basics of those two topics. I just remembered the formulas, and majorly I banged on these three topics. And as a result, I knew that I was taking a risk, but then that risk paid off, because in the past 3-4 years that has been the trend, and it is unlikely to change in near future. So you can focus on these three topics and just do the basics of the other topics, right? So that was my strategy for the QA section. So since I had already appeared for CAT twice before 2022, I was already aware of basics of what was required to crack the CAT or to get a good score in CAT. So this time what I did different was I focused on my test taking skills and my behavior during the exam. You can say the psychological aspects. So if you, what do I mean by psychological aspects? When I'm giving the exam, what is my attention span, and at which point of time I feel tired? So these are some aspects which I focused on in this year's preparation. So for example, when I start my VRC section, I analyze that in CAT 2020 and 2021, in the starting 5 to 7 minutes, whenever I read any RC, I just do not get hang of what is that RC all about. So I tried to develop my habit that whenever I start reading my comprehension, I would start slow and try to comprehend what the passage is all about. Right. So this is one thing. Then secondly, when I, after appearing for VRC and DILR, when I came towards quant section, my body used to get tired. And by body, I majorly mean to say my brain used to get tired. So for that, what I did was, after completing each section, so for example, once my VRC section is completed, I used to take a deep breath, take a pause for around 20 to 30 seconds. Okay. Take a sip of water, just relax, and then start with DLR section. And the same thing I used to do once the DLR section is over and I start moving on to the quant section. So how this helped me? So I'll give you the example of CAT 21 paper. What happened in CAT 2021. So once I finished my VRC section, I knew that my VRC section hadn't went well. Okay. And due to that, I just quickly jumped to the DILR section and I started scanning the sets. And since my VRC had gone bad, I had the pressure of uh, perform even better in the DILR section. So due to that, my nerves got even higher, and I just could not gather my senses, keep my calm. And as a result, I just tried to solve the sets. And when I was solving the sets, I missed some key points in the instructions given. Right. So due to this, my DLR also got spoiled. So that's the reason I thought of trying out this strategy, that after each section is over, I'll just take a pause for 10 to 20 seconds. I'll just gather my senses and focus on the next section. So the learning over here is that once your section is over, you should take the next session as a new paper. So it might be possible that the first section was tough for you, but it would be tough for everyone. So instead of focusing that you did not, the section did not go as per you had planned, so you should focus on the new upcoming section. So that is one thing. And nextly, for QA and DILR, what I did was, you have options, right, for DILR and QA. So generally what people tend to do is you try to solve the questions by conventional methods. But the thing to note here is that IIMs don't give you points for the methods or for doing the whole steps. If you have DILR, if you have a set of DILR, and if you have options, then why not just try out the options, and with the help of options, you can get to your answer much quicker, right? So if you're stuck at any set, you're not finding a way to go ahead with the solution. What you can do is you can just look at the options. So you have generally 4 to 5 questions for each set. So in that 4 to 5 questions, you have options for almost 2 to 3 questions minimum. So you can look at those 2 to 3 questions, you can pick up clues and try out the options. And with the help of options, there's a high possibility that you can crack this set, right? So this is exactly what happened in my this year's CAT. So there was one set, I don't remember the complete details. So there was one set, I was confused between two options, or rather, I was getting two solutions. But I thought of going back to the question and checking the option. Once I went through the options, I realized that my first solution was not matching. And by default, the answer had to be the second solution, right? So this is one thing which you can do for DLR. Same thing you can do for the QA as well. QA, QMA, it would be even easier as you don't have to solve an entire set. It's just a single question, and you can just check with the 4 options and just try to, reverse approach, and you should be fine with that. So yes, that is one thing. Another thing in QA, what you can do is you can just follow the general strategy or the specific strategy. So if suppose that there's a question on series, okay, and the question is given in terms of variables, like a is the first term, then b is the first term, c is the second term. What you can do is, agar wo series hi hai, then you can take 1 1 1 abc as 1 1 1, because either ways that is also a series. So you can just try out these few tricks and tips which would help you in cracking some seemingly difficult questions, right? So this is what I tried in the QA section this time. So yeah, that was pretty much about my overall strategy. Another thing, what I did was I focused this time. So last 2 years, what I did was I was just focused completely into the CAT preparation. So due to this, I was not able to pursue my hobbies, and I just used to get burnt out after say a month of preparation, continuous preparation. So this time, what I did was I pursued my hobbies. So for me, it was my morning walks or just a quick workout on weekends, or even going cycling nearby. So that was majorly my hobbies, which kept me relaxed and refreshed my mind. So this time I focused a lot on my well-being, because no matter how much you prepare, if you are not feeling well in the sense, if you are not relaxed mentally, then you won't be able to perform up to your expectations on the D day, on the CAT exam. So that is very important. You should focus on your well-being as well, and you should take some time out for your hobbies or extracurriculars, right? So that is one thing. And apart from that, see, CAT is just a means to your goal, right? And CAT is not everything. You should not pressurize too much on the CAT exam, because you have ample of opportunities even if your CAT doesn't go well. Okay, there is SNAP, there is ZAT, IFP, NMAT, and many other exams. So yes, you should prepare for CAT diligently, but at the same time, you should not stress too much on yourself. Just take it as a journey, as a learning opportunity, and enjoy your preparation phase for the CAT exam. So this is one thing which I learned this year, and which helped me to score good marks in my CAT exam. Okay. So this was it. And one more thing which I did unique this year was, so before going to the CAT exam, as I had mentioned earlier, that the moment I start reading the first VRC passage, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, I just couldn't get hold of what the passage was all about, right? So this year, what I had devised as a strategy was, before leaving for the exam, an hour and a half ago, I just try to read some articles, or rather, I just solved the actual CAT 2021 slot paper. And what I mean by solved, I did not solve the entire paper. I just solved one RC from from the VA section, a couple of PJs and odd one out, and then I solved half a set of DLR, and then 3 to 4 questions of quant. So it helped me immensely And why it helped me? Because it got my brain into the exam mode, and it just got my reflexes and got my brain getting into the hang of exam, the CAT exam. So by solving the actual CAT questions of previous year paper, you can say it was like a warm up to me. And the moment I started my VRC section, I generally used to lose track of what the RC was all about. But this time somehow I was able to concentrate, and I was able to figure out what the passage was all about. And as a result, this time my VRC was, my VRC went very well. So in the previous two attempts, I would just like to mention my performance in VRC. In the first attempt, my percentile was around 85. In the second attempt, my percentile was around 79. But this time in VRC, my percentile was 99.28. So yes, you can take a clue from this. I won't say that this is the only way in which you can improve or take clues for your VRC section. But yes, you can try this strategy, and if it helps for you, then great. Okay. So yeah, this is what I did on the CAT exam day. Before leaving for the exam, I just tried to solve some VA questions, some DILR, and the QA questions. And yeah, so that's about it. And coming on to the DILR section, this time was, in my opinion, wasn't that difficult as compared to previous year. But the main thing this year was that you had 5 different sets, and all of those 5 sets were of equal difficulty. So generally what happens in CAT is that you get one easy set, one medium set, and two medium to difficult set. But this time all those 5 sets were on a similar difficulty level. So a lot of candidates got confused as to which set they should solve first, right? So again, since I had practiced well and I revised my DILR regularly, so I knew what my strengths were in DILR. So I, first of all, I just solved a DI bar based set. Okay, there was some bar graph, some data given, and I just solved that set. And after that, I went to my another strength, which was games and tournaments. So I again solved that set. And again, in the limited amount of time in DILR, it is a general tendency that in the last few minutes you tend to get pressurized by the time pressure. So in the last 10 to 15 minutes, what I would suggest is that if you have completed a couple of sets or even a single set, you should maintain your calm and try to solve that set which you think you can crack it in the given time frame. Okay. So for me, there was one set which I couldn't crack in the first 10-15 minutes, but I had bookmarked that because I knew that I was missing some link in the DLR section. And due to time pressure, what happens is that you tend to lose out some key information given in the paragraph, right? So if you are stuck in the DLR question or the DLR set, what I would suggest is that you just bookmark that set and you can come back later, because what happens is that, as I said, you tend to lose out on some important information. And most of the time it happens that crucial information is needed to crack the entire set. So this time I bookmarked, I just left the set which I couldn't crack in the first 5 to 10 minutes. Then in the last 10 to 12 minutes, I knew that I had to come back to this set. So again, with a calm mind, I read the instructions, clues which were given in the set. And I was missing one major important point, which, thankfully I was able to figure out and notice that this was the point which I was missing. And as a result, I was able to crack that set and get additional 3 to 4 questions in my kitty, right? So if you are stuck in DLR, I would suggest you should move on. Okay, do not spend too much time in a single set, because you tend to, your mind tends to get, pressurized. And in that pressure, it is very easy to just keep, you tend to lose your cool. And even if you know the solution, you will do some mistake in calculations, or you will do some silly mistake. So it's advisable that if you are not able to crack the solution of a set, you just bookmark that set and move on. Okay, you can come back to it later and try to solve with a fresh mind. So that was about DLR. Then coming on to QA. So QA, I was banking on the most in this year's CAT, because this has been my the strongest section. but as a result, I scored the least in my QA section. Okay, so this time in my slot, yeah, I was in slot 2, and QA slot 2 was a bit difficult. So I, generally don't panic in the QA section, but this time I panicked a bit. Okay, reason being, I was not able to solve even a single question in the first 7 minutes. Okay, so you can imagine the amount of pressure I would be having, because QA used to be my strength. Okay, and if you're not able to solve even a single question in first 7 minutes, I mean, there's a high chance that you would be looking at next year's CAT. So after first 7 minutes went, I just calmed myself down. I took a sip of water, and I told myself that I worked so hard and I can't just give up right away. Okay, if it is hard for me, and reason being, I'm good at QA. Okay, decent at QA, and if it is hard for me, then it is hard for everyone else. So I again just pulled back my senses, and I tried to focus on the easier questions. So I managed to solve around uh, you know 10 to 11 questions this time. I think it was around 11 or 12 attempts I did. Usually my attempts were around 15 to 16 in QA, but this time I knew that the paper was difficult and the attempts were less due to that. But majorly I focused on accuracy. I solved only those questions which I felt that I could solve. Okay, and also there were a couple of questions where I mentioned that I was not getting to an answer using the conventional method, right? So I just took the help of options, and using that I was able to get answer of 2 to 3 questions mostly. Okay, so this is one thing which I would you know advise you on. In the QA section you can take the help of option. Okay, so that is it. So that was my this year's CAT experience. And once I got out of the exam hall, I knew that I had done well. But to be honest, I wasn't expecting this high score. So the percentile which I managed to score is 99.78. But I knew that I had done well, and I was expecting somewhere around 98 plus percentile. Yeah. But when the response sheet came out, I was surprised looking at my VRC score, because due to VRC, I had, performed poorly in my previous 2 CAT attempts. And since this year's VRC went very well for me, my score got boosted, and I managed to score such a high score. Yeah. So that was my story of 3 years, you can say 2020, 2021, and 2020. Right. So coming on to CAT 2023, since most of you would be appearing or looking for CAT 2023, so I would just like to give some general advice. I won't go into specifics of a strategy, because see, every one of you is different. Okay, some of you might have already given CAT. Okay, some of you would be appearing CAT for the first time. Okay, so my advice would be, you can look at topper strategies. Okay, there are ample of videos on YT. You read a lot of articles about what strategies toppers use, but at the same time you should also see whether that strategy fits you or not. Okay, so this is one mistake which I did last year. I used to watch n number of videos of toppers talking about the strategies, and I used to think, acha, this is looking good, let me try out this. Okay, but it doesn't work that way. Okay, because every individual is different, and what worked for me personally is not necessary that it will also work for you. Okay, so you can just look at the strategies employed by all the toppers, but at the same time you should also tweak that strategy according to your prep. Okay, so that it should be helpful to you. Okay, so I would mostly like to focus on the first timers who would be appearing for CAT 23 for the first time. What you can do is, since you have almost 12 months or 11 months, you can say, first couple of months you can just start reading basic newspapers, basic articles. Okay, this would help you in building a reading habit, which is a must for an exam like CAT. Because if you see, you have to read continuously for 2 hours, be it VRC, DILR, or QA. So your concentration in reading plays a crucial role, and also the comprehension part. So if you read on a regular basis for half an hour, an hour, it should be enough. And if you do not have a habit of reading, start slowly. Start with 10 minutes of reading, read a couple of articles on a daily basis, and gradually you can improve your reading time. Okay. So in the first couple of months, you can do that. And once you have developed a good reading speed, you start to comprehend things and you get a hang of what the article is about, you can start, solving the RCs. Okay, RCs and the VA questions. So this is pretty much about VA. For DILR, again, you can start with the basics. You can, do quick calculations. You can do percentages like what is 1 by 2, 50%, what is 2 by 3, what is 1 by 12, because this is very helpful in DILR as well as QA. Okay. So if you are very good at these quick calculations, it saves you those crucial 2 to 3 seconds, which can add up to, a minute or two, which you can solve another extra question. Okay. So these small things matter a lot. Okay. So you can focus on the quick calculations part. And since you have a lot of time for CAT 2023, what I would suggest is that you maintain a formula book. Okay. So that should be the first thing which you should do. So maintain a formula book, write down formulas for all the topics, and on a daily basis, you should go through that. And once you get done with that, you can start with arithmetic and go on gradually with arithmetic, algebra, geometry, whichever is your strong topic. Okay. And for so this was for QA. For DILR, you can start with basic calculations, and apart from that, you can start with basic logical reasoning sets. Okay, like arrangements, and you can also try to solve basic DILR sets. That should help you to get a hang of DILR section. Once you are good at basics, and once you get a hang of what the section is all about, then you can start with the previous year CAT papers and also the sets which you would be giving in the mocks. Okay. So I think that should be the overall plan. And over here, you can just tweak your strategies, preparation plan according to your strengths and weaknesses. And yeah, so that should be it. And all the best, aspirants. Just on a last note, I would like to say, just believe in yourself. Okay, there would be ups and downs in your journey. Like in my second last mock, I got around 60 to 70 percentile, right? But mock scores are not is not a parameter which you can judge on. Okay, because mocks tend to keep on fluctuating. Okay, so just focus on your prep, believe in yourself. There will be ups and downs, but remember, it's a journey. Enjoy your journey and just be confident that you will do well in the CAT exam. Okay, so all the best and thank you, everyone.